laughing at my stepson and ruining his wedding. For over 20 years, I have been a part of this family. My husband and I met after his divorce, and we started dating when his children, Adam and Ben, were just little kids, 5 and 3 years old. They were small, full of energy, and slowly learning to navigate the world around them after their parents' separation. I never tried to replace their mother, that was never my goal, but I did try to show up for them always. From school concerts to birthday cakes, sick days, and first heartbreaks, I was there. And then, as the years went by, our family grew. We had Charles, then David, and finally little Ellie. All of them, my stepkids and our shared kids, made this house feel full. Full of love, noise, chaos, and laughter. It was not always perfect, but it was ours. Adam, the oldest, was a quiet and thoughtful boy. He loved reading and puzzles and could spend hours drawing superheroes in his notebooks. Over time, he grew into a smart and kind young man, and I was always proud of him. When he introduced us to Alice, we were thrilled. She was bright, funny, and easy to talk to. Our whole family welcomed her with open arms. Their engagement brought a sense of joy into the house. Ellie, who adored anything fancy and elegant, could not stop talking about dresses and flowers and everything wedding-related. She was honored to be asked to be a junior bridesmaid. Charles was chosen to be the best man, and David and Ben were going to be groomsmen. It felt like all of us were going to be part of something very special. We laughed during family dinners and talked about wedding plans often. So when my husband's birthday came around and we planned a small dinner at home with all 5 kids and Alice, it felt like another joyful evening. I cooked his favorite dishes and the kids helped set the table. There was cake, laughter, and stories about old family trips and childhood pranks. Even Ben, who often needed a quieter space because of his autism, joined us for most of the evening and seemed happy. As we sat around the table after dinner, sipping tea and picking at the last crumbs of dessert, Ellie lit up with excitement. "I can't wait to go dress shopping," she beamed. "Mom and I are going to the city soon to find a dress for me and her mother of the groom dress." She smiled at me, and I felt a wave of warmth in my heart. I looked over at Alice, expecting to see her share in the excitement. Instead, I saw her glance at Adam with a strange look, nervous maybe, uncomfortable. Then she turned to Ellie and said, "You only need to worry about one dress, yours." Ellie's smile froze. "What are you expecting Mom to wear, a suit?" she asked, laughing lightly. Alice did not laugh back. "My name is not going," she said. "We're keeping the guest list very limited to just family and a few close friends." The words dropped like a stone into the room. I blinked. Surely I misunderstood. Surely this was some kind of joke. A bad one maybe, but nobody laughed. Charles leaned forward, his tone serious. "Wait, are you saying you are uninviting her now, or was she never invited to begin with?" Alice looked directly at him. "She was never invited." Silence. I looked at Adam. His face was stiff, almost unreadable. "Why?" Charles asked again. Adam shrugged. "Because she is not my mom." Something in the room cracked. Maybe it was Ellie's heart, maybe mine. David sat back, stunned. Charles's mouth fell open. Ellie looked like someone had just taken away her puppy, and my husband, he stared at Adam as if seeing a stranger. Charles stood up. "You are kidding, right? After everything she has done for us?" David spoke next. "You are seriously leaving out the woman who raised you just because your mom did not give birth to her?" Ellie, her voice breaking, whispered. "That's not fair. She's been our mom our whole lives. She's always been there." Adam sat straighter. "This is not about that. It's our wedding. We want it to be the way we want it." Ben, sitting beside Charles, started to rock slightly. He looked confused, overwhelmed, and deeply upset. He did not speak much, but I could tell this was affecting him too. My husband finally found his voice. "Well," Adam said, turning to him like he was challenging him. "We're not going," my husband said firmly. "None of us are. If she's not invited, then none of us are." Adam looked stunned. "Are you seriously going to ruin my wedding over this?" I did not speak. I just laughed. I do not know why. Maybe it was the shock. Maybe it was the pain I was trying to swallow. Maybe it was because everything about this moment after 20 years of being a mother figure felt so absurd. Then I stood up. "I'll wait in the car," I said softly. I made it halfway down the driveway before the tears came, and once they started, they would not stop. That night, the house was quiet. Ellie went to bed early, heartbroken. David stayed up and sat beside me in the living room, holding my hand. Charles stayed on the phone with Adam, trying to talk sense into him, but got nowhere. My husband held me for a long time without saying anything. I knew he was trying to be strong for me, but I could feel the hurt in his silence. Ben was the most confused. He kept asking, "Why is Adam mad? Why are we fighting? Is Mom going?" We tried to explain gently, but he just shook his head and sat in his favorite corner of the room, needing space. The next day, Adam called my husband. He wanted to talk things through, but he still insisted I was not invited. And he asked for something else. He wanted me to apologize for laughing at him. "Tough luck," my husband told him. "It's your wedding. Invite whoever you want. But you don't get to demand who supports you. You owe her an apology, not the other way around, and you should be ashamed of yourself." We hung up the phone. and the silence that followed was heavier than anything we had felt before. The week that followed felt longer than any we had experienced as a family. Every room in our home was quiet, like someone had gently turned the volume down on our lives. Ellie stayed in her room more than usual, only coming out to sit next to me in the evenings. She would lean her head on my shoulder, not saying much, but needing to be close. I tried to keep things as normal as I could, making breakfast, folding laundry, keeping routine steady, but everything I did was tinged with a heaviness I could not shake. David spent more time with Charles, trying to distract themselves with movies and long walks, but they could not avoid the subject forever. They were both angry at Adam, at the unfairness of it all, and at the idea that someone could erase 2 decades of motherhood with a single sentence. My husband, steady and loving as always, stayed strong for us all, but I knew he was hurting too. He was quiet during dinners, staring at his plate, only occasionally offering a tired smile when Ellie shared a funny story or Charles cracked a joke. He was carrying a weight of disappointment that went beyond words. Ben, who did not always understand all the details, felt the tension most of all. He asked again and again why his older brother was so upset. He asked if we were still going to the wedding. He asked if the family was breaking, as he put it. Each time we answered as gently as possible. "No, sweetheart," I told him softly one evening. "The family isn't breaking, we're just figuring things out." But I did not know if I truly believed that. Adam had not reached out to me directly since that dinner. The last thing I heard was through my husband that Adam still believed I should apologize for laughing. It was hard to wrap my head around. How could he believe that the worst thing I did was laugh? He had not asked if I was okay, he had not called to explain or to talk, not even once. Ellie tried reaching out to Alice a few times. She sent kind messages asking if they could talk. She even wrote a long note explaining how I had been a second mother to all of them, how I had cared for them, taught them, protected them. I saw the message before she sent it. Her words were gentle but full of heartbreak. Alice never replied. Instead, a few days later, she texted Charles to say that she and Adam would be celebrating Easter with her parents. That was fine, we had expected as much, but then something unexpected happened. On Easter Sunday, Ellie got a message from Alice. She was shaking when she came to me and asked if she could talk. I sat her down in the kitchen and made her some tea, waiting patiently as she tried to explain. "I asked her again," Ellie said quietly. "I asked why they really did not want you at the wedding. I told her that it did not make sense." "And what did she say?" I asked gently. "She told me everything," Ellie said. "About her parents, about Ben's mom." I froze. "What about her?" Ellie looked down. She said it was because of Ben's mom, that she made them promise not to invite you, that she is paying for part of the wedding." The words hit me like a gust of cold wind. For a moment I did not know how to respond. I had really hoped that this had not been about her, that my stepson had made a poor choice, but that it had at least come from him. But now I knew. My husband's ex-wife had never liked me, that was not a secret. Even though we had met after their divorce, and even though I had tried to stay respectful and never overstep, she had always kept me at distance. At first I thought it was natural. Divorce was hard, sharing parenting was hard, but even years later when the kids were older she never softened. I accepted it and focused on being present for the children instead of trying to win her over. Now it seemed she had finally gotten what she wanted by taking it from me. That evening we dropped Ben off with her for an extra Easter night as planned. We hoped the visit would be calm, that Ben would have fun. But within hours my husband's phone started buzzing nonstop. Messages. Calls, angry voicemails. Ben had mentioned the fight and she had exploded. My husband answered one call. I only heard one side of it, but the look on his face said it all. After a few moments of her shouting, he calmly said, "We will talk when Ben is home," and ended the call. She texted him all kinds of things, blaming me, accusing us of turning the kids against Adam, saying Ben was confused and scared. I stayed quiet. I did not want to feed the fire. But inside, my heart ached. Because I was not the one tearing the family apart. Adam was. The next day, Charles got a message from Adam. He wanted to talk, alone. He asked to meet him somewhere quiet. Charles agreed, and we all waited nervously at home while he went. Hours later, Charles texted us. "Can I bring Adam over?" I looked at my husband. He nodded. "Yes." When they arrived, I barely recognized Adam. His eyes were red, his face drawn and tired. He walked in slowly, his hands trembling slightly. He looked at me and began to cry. "I am so sorry," he said, the words I had waited for. And yet, hearing them did not bring the relief I expected. Instead, they opened the door to the pain I had tried so hard to keep locked away. Adam sat down and told us everything. He explained how he had been trying to repair his relationship with his mother, that their bond had always been complicated and he wanted to fix it. That when she heard about the wedding, she offered to help with costs, that it started with small things, flowers, invitations, and that slowly her influence grew. She said she would only help if you weren't there, Adam said quietly. She said it would be too hard for her to sit in the same room as you, and I did not know what to do. I thought maybe it would just be easier. You thought it would be easier to cut me out of your life, I asked. My voice was calm, but my hands were shaking. He lowered his head. No. Yes, I thought it would hurt less than fighting with her again. I was wrong. My husband sat beside me silent. His arm was around my shoulder. I never stopped loving you, Adam whispered, but I let someone else decide how to run my life, and I hurt you. I hurt all of you. I wiped away a tear. You are right about one thing. You hurt me deeply. Adam nodded. I do not expect everything to be okay again, but I want to try. I want to make it right. That night we talked for hours. About the wedding, about the budget, about Alice's parents who had been shocked and embarrassed when they learned what was happening. They had offered to help repay the money so that Adam and Alice could make their own decisions again. And then Adam asked if we would meet with Alice in a few days. To talk, to begin again. We said yes. But deep inside, I knew that forgiveness would not come quickly. It would take time, it would take effort. Because sometimes the deepest cuts come from the ones you raised with love. The house felt different in the days leading up to our meeting with Alice. It was not heavy in the same way it had been after the dinner. No, this was something else. There was a quiet buzz in the air, a fragile hopefulness mixed with the cautious steps of recovery. The kids felt it too. Charles and David became a little lighter, their laughter slowly returning during movie nights. Ellie drew small hearts on sticky notes and left them on my bathroom mirror in the mornings, each one saying things like, "You're the best mom," or "I love you." Ben, sweet Ben, seemed relieved to see his big brother back in the house, even if only briefly. He hugged Adam before bed the night he visited and whispered, "No more fighting, okay?" Adam stayed for dinner that evening. It was simple, just pasta and garlic bread, but we all sat together. We did not talk about the wedding or his mother. We just ate, talked, remembered what it felt like to be a family. It was not perfect, but it was a beginning. A few days later, Alice came to visit. She arrived in the afternoon wearing a pale yellow dress and holding a bouquet of daffodils. I had not expected that. She smiled nervously as she handed them to me, and I could see she had been crying. "Hi," she said quietly. I nodded. "Hi." We sat in the living room together, me, my husband, Adam, and Alice. The kids were all out, giving us the space we needed. I could feel the tension in Alice's shoulders. She looked at me with eyes full of worry. "I am so sorry," she said, her voice cracked a little. "I should have stood up for you. I knew it was wrong. I was just scared." I did not speak. I wanted to hear everything. She continued, "When Adam told me about your family, I thought it was beautiful. I saw how close all of you were. But when his mom offered to pay, I felt like I had to agree to things I did not believe in. And then it snowballed. I kept thinking someone else would fix it, or that maybe it would not hurt as much as it did." Adam placed his hand over hers. "It was never her idea, it was mine. I let it happen. I thought I was being strong by choosing peace, but peace built on hurting others is not real peace." I finally found my voice. You know, the hardest part of all this was not being uninvited, it was the silence. The fact that after 20 years I had to find out I was not wanted by accident over dinner, and then you asked me to apologize, that broke something. Adam looked down. I was ashamed. I think I knew I had made the wrong choice, but instead of facing it, I tried to make you the problem. That was so wrong. Alice reached for my hand. "We want you there, we both do, not because it would make things easier or to avoid a fight, but because you belong there, you always have." For a while, no one spoke. My husband finally said, "This family is not perfect, but we've always fought to stay together. If you want to mend this, you'll need to prove with actions that you mean it." Adam nodded. "We will." That afternoon, we made a new plan. Adam and Alice had already canceled the payments from his mom and were working with Alice's parents on the new budget. My husband and I offered to help where we could, not out of obligation, but because we wanted to support them in building something truly their own. The guest list was being rewritten. My name was on it. But beyond the wedding details, we talked about boundaries, what would and would not be allowed moving forward. Adam admitted that rebuilding trust with me and his siblings would take time, and he was willing to earn it. That evening after they left, Ellie danced around the kitchen when I told her. "You're going," she squealed. "I knew it would be okay. Can we still go dress shopping this weekend?" I smiled. "Of course we can." She hugged me tight and said, "You're still my favorite part of this family." Charles and David, when they heard the news, were more cautious. "We're glad he came to his senses," David said, "but he still has a lot to prove." "That's fair," I said. "It's not about pretending it never happened. It's about what he chooses to do from here." Ben gave me a simple answer when I told him, "Good, everyone should be at the wedding." "It's a family thing," I nodded. "Yes, it is. The weeks that followed were not always easy. There were still awkward moments. The pain did not disappear overnight, but each day there was progress. We chose to focus on love instead of bitterness, not because the pain was not real, but because love was stronger. On a sunny afternoon a few months later, we gathered in the church garden for rehearsal. Ellie twirled in her dress, her smile brighter than the sun. Charles stood confidently, offering pointers to the other groomsmen. David practiced his walk. Even Ben got excited about his special job of handing out programs at the entrance. And I stood beside my husband, wearing a simple pale blue dress Ellie helped me choose, the same one we found on our city trip, the one we were always meant to find. When Adam saw me, he walked over slowly and hugged me firmly, silently. No words were needed. We had both been changed by this journey. The next day, under soft golden light, Adam and Alice said their vows. There were tears and laughter, joy and forgiveness. It was not the perfect wedding. It was something better. It was honest. It was real. And this time it included everyone who truly mattered.